All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session today. We're calling it Keep Calm and Lawyer On. What we've done is we've assembled a great group of panelists. We have a lot of fun together to talk about 5 specific tools that can help you while you're lawyering remotely. And for some of you, lawyering remotely might not be a new thing. For others of you, it's a whole new world, uncharted territory. But regardless, these are tools that can help you not only now, but inevitably going on into the future for however long you want to use them, hopefully a very long time. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce the panel and then we'll get started. So first off, thank you, Mark Homer from Get Noticed, Get Found. He's the CEO and founder of Get Noticed, Get Found. Thanks, Mark, for putting the webinar together and getting us scheduled today. We also have Nefra Macdonald from Clio, Nefra. We also have Maddy Martin from Smith Ai, Maddy. And last but certainly not least, Aimee Mann from LawPay. Great. So I'm Kristin Tyler. I'm going to be your host today. I am one of the co-founders of a company called Lawclerk. We're going to talk about that later on. But one of the reasons I got selected to be the host for today is I am also an attorney. I'm the only attorney on the panel. I do still have a law practice based in Las Vegas, Nevada. My background is trust and estates. So I'm going to be asking questions that I think you as a busy attorney would want to ask. But certainly if we are forgetting some questions, please drop those in the comments and we'll do our best to get to those along the way. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk through kind of the natural progression of a case from start to finish and how the various tools that our companies offer fit in along the way. And so hopefully that's a great way to structure this conversation. And so, when a case begins, or you have to get the case first. And the way you get the case is all too often marketing efforts. And especially now when we're living online, we're living on our screens, our phones, people are taking to the internet to try to get help for the legal issues that they are still facing. And so now more than ever, your digital marketing strategy is going to be super important. And that's where Mark Homer comes in with Get Noticed, Get Found. So Mark, would you please introduce yourself a little more in depth?
Yeah, hi, Mark Homer with Get Noticed, Get Found. We are a marketing agency that only works with law firms. We've been doing this about 10 years. Also the author of Online Law Practice Strategies, which is a book wrote about 9 years ago and have had to update almost every other year because it's about online marketing. The unique thing about Get Noticed, Get Found is we tend to try to take a more strategic approach with our clients. It's not just, like the flavor of the day tactic, but, overall marketing strategy down to the executing the tactics.
Fantastic. So Mark, I guess at the onset, should lawyers be marketing to potential new clients right now? And if so, what should their message be right now?
Yeah, so I think definitely lawyers should, continue marketing. But what I think the message needs to be is what it always should have been, which is kind of leading your messaging from empathy and not leading from fear. This is a time where I've seen a few law firms maybe messaging out kind of more scare tactic type marketing, and I think that is never a good place in legal. I think lawyers by default tend to be more empathetic with understanding how to help their clients and wanting to do that. But then when they get to marketing, sometimes I think people mix their messages a little bit. So if you just kind of do what you always want to do with a client and do that in your marketing and just come from a place of help, come from a place of support, and that you're here to help the potential client, you're going to be doing much better during especially these times, but that's a foundational thing that should be done all the time.
Gotcha. So Mark, I know you work with lawyers all over the country on these types of strategies, and I'm sure knowing your team, you guys have been talking to them lately. What are you seeing from your clients that are succeeding right now? What's working for them best?
So it's interesting. The clients that we've been working with for many years that have been investing in like search engine optimization and those kind of tactics have actually had a lot of success still. They've been still getting clients and leads and stuff through this process. But I think it's because over the years they've been able to work their way up into the ranking. Unfortunately, if you haven't been there before, if you haven't been doing this for a few years, you can't just tomorrow suddenly have your search engine optimization, put you in the top 3 listings or something of a mapping or something.
If only it were that easy, right?
Right. So, yeah. But what we are seeing, some clients that we've brought on board recently, going back to what I consider basics and working on, hey, go through all those client files and pull out that, all the email addresses, go through your referral network and start building these email lists and then maybe send a few newsletters out. Right, just kind of reminding people you're here, reminding people what you can help with, In fact, we're suggesting people say, hey, we can help with all kinds of legal things. Reach out to me, because if I can't do it, maybe I can refer you to somebody else, right? So that's one area that we're seeing working right now, is like just doing the basics of reaching out to people that you have already been clients or that are good referral partners. And that's, like newsletters, like sending a newsletter every once in a while is a great tactic in general, but it's really working now because just reminding people that you're here and keeping that what we call top of mind awareness. And the other thing we're seeing is people who are spending a lot of time engaging on social media, or maybe providing helpful information, whether it's tips or videos or guides and checklists and stuff right now on social media. We're seeing some great success from that as well. And again, these are things that you don't have to be having had invested a lot of time in marketing up to this point to still get some success in email marketing and social media.
Okay. So if going back to the newsletter, if you have a lawyer who wants to try the newsletter thing out, number one, if they start it, how often should they be sending those newsletters? And are there any tools out there that help make it easy to do? And are they expensive?
Right. So I think from a timing perspective, it's okay to send a newsletter as much as like every week, and right now, if you have the information, we can talk a little bit about what you should put in the newsletter, but it's okay to do, every week. I know lawyers that do every week, but once a month is also fine, ongoing. But maybe right now you want to do a little more often, just to kind of like remind people, hey, we're here during this crisis, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in people's heads, and you kind of got to cut through that clutter, and maybe a few emails wouldn't hurt. In terms of tools, what I recommend is, well, first of all, if you already have a tool, you don't have to switch, like use what use what you have. If your practice management tool does that, if you're, maybe you already have an email marketing tool, that's great. If you don't, what I usually recommend right out of the gate is MailChimp, just because the tool works well. It's pretty easy. It's next to no cost to get started, and you can get things loaded in there. Their templates are very easy to use and modify. So kind of a do-it-yourselfer can get up and going with MailChimp pretty quickly and have an okay-looking newsletter to get out to their client list.
That sounds great. So definitely connecting with past clients in hopes that they can refer to you, upping your presence on social media if you haven't already. Beyond these very actionable strategies, Mark, you are also a business owner of a service industry business, and you've been through other economic downturns with your own business. What advice would you have for lawyers right now who are struggling and who, don't like that their phone isn't ringing and that things seem slow right now? Like, what would you tell those lawyers?
Right. I think that, one thing is, if you're on this call right now, then you're probably doing some of the things I would recommend, which is stepping back and working on your business, because you have now a time when maybe you're not in your business so much. And we've talked about this before, how oftentimes lawyers, when they're not lawyering, think they're not working in their business. It's like, oh, I'm not working if I'm not lawyering, right? But there's a lot of things you can do and should be doing to work on your business to make it, more efficient. Like get your marketing going, get your content going, processes, tools, systems. And I know we'll talk a lot about that today, but it's a good time right now when maybe you're a little bit slower to really step back and say, how can I come out of this with a better foundation and be stronger as a firm when we move forward? And like, we've been doing that here, in GNGF, right? So like we've been trying to produce a lot of like content and take advantage of this, a little extra time here to, go out there with, guides and information that can help law firms, right? Just like maybe this webinar here. These are things that law firms could also be doing.
That's fantastic. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there when you said that lawyers all too often feel like they're not really working if they're not in court, meeting with clients, writing documents. So thanks for reminding us that even when we're working on our business, we're still being productive, and everybody needs to cut themselves a little bit of slack right now, I think, too. So that's awesome. But thank you, Mark. So we've talked about the marketing component of getting a new client hopefully signed up for a new case. But what happens after they see you online, or maybe their neighbor forwards the newsletter that you're going to prepare to them, and now they want to connect with you? They're probably either going to pick up their phone and call you, or maybe they're going to message you somehow through a social media platform or email. And it can be challenging right now to keep up with those calls if you're stuck on a really long Zoom mediation or on a court call with the court, or, teaching second grade suddenly, like I am. So if you're worried about missing the opportunity to connect with potential clients, that's where our next speaker can come in, and that would be Maddy Martin with Smith AI. So Maddy, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the head of growth and education for Smith AI. We are a virtual receptionist and live chat service, and we handle not only calls, but also website chat, text answering, and Facebook Messenger messages as well. I need to find out a better way to say that. So the point is that we see people visiting a website first, and from there, they'll call, they'll chat, they'll fill out a web form that we can call back. There is more screen time than ever right now, and what we know is that firms have leaned out quite a bit, and even outside of those times when you're actually busy, your time may be most valuable doing the things that Mark described. That yes, there's lawyering time that only you can do and you're best suited to do, but then there are also things on building your business and processes and systems and team management, new monitoring remotely that you're doing, that also only you can do, that build value in your firm. So how do we protect your time? Not only by answering the communications that come through these channels, but also by taking the next steps of screening and blocking spam immediately and doing that intake and scheduling so that you're only interrupted or put in touch with potential or even existing clients who have been screened and vetted, and then schedule time with you on a time that you can predict. Because what do we know right now? Schedules have completely changed, and getting an interruption may conflict with all the other interruptions, such as teaching school to your kids, that you didn't have to account for before.
Absolutely. That is amazing to hear about how, you guys can do so much more than just answer phones and help save us time by weeding out spam and junk calls. And that's great to know. Maddy, I'd be curious, as a lawyer, I'd be curious to hear more about, like, who are the receptionists? Are they in a call center somewhere? Or, are they people that kind of come and go? Or, what can you tell us about your team?
Well, we are very fortunate and very grateful that our team was fully remote from day one. So for the last 5 years, our receptionists and chat agents have worked from quiet home offices, in addition to our marketing and engineering teams now, who serve our clients already remotely. And we are completely based on our own homegrown software solutions and monitoring tools, so that we didn't have any business disruption. And that meant, thankfully, that we could put all of our bandwidth into serving our clients, because we had a huge surge in demand for changes, new clients, adjustments to instructions, installation of chatbots and things like that, so that we can respond, no pun intended, to the changing needs of our clients, who are about 60% law firms right now.
Okay, 60% law firms, very interesting. And what kind of training do your receptionists go through in terms of getting started with a new client? Tell us about how easy or how challenging it might be for a new lawyer to sign up and start using that service and feel comfortable that their phones are going to be answered professionally all the time.
Yeah, there are probably 3 things to unpack there. The first is, how do we choose the best people to answer your calls and your chats? So it's a combination of, it's really powerful AI technology that helps them do their jobs very well by giving them information at the right time. The people who are receiving that information are customer service and hospitality professionals. Many of them have law backgrounds. We have one person who's on staff who was a paralegal for the Florida Supreme Court. These are really high caliber people. And then what we do for our clients is, during onboarding, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to come to our receptionist service already knowing how you're going to use our service. And that's our job. That's not your job. So don't think that there's this huge hurdle to overcome where you have to come with all your plans in place and your phone system perfectly dialed in and where things are being routed. That's our job, to set that up for you. And we offer these free consultations. You can schedule them right on our website to have that even 15-20-minute call. And we say, we understand exactly the situation. We've seen it many times before. You're in a solo practice, or you're in a practice that has an office in LA and one in Boston. How do we accommodate this based on your practice area? Do you take payment for consultation? Do you use LawPay? Are you using Clio? Because we integrate with these systems. And then we take your sort of ecosystem and we map our scripts and processes to it. And I say scripts very lightly because what we find is that in approximating that in-house feel of a great receptionist, what you don't want is to come to us with, here are the lines you must read when you receive this sort of phone call, because we might as well just be robots, right? So what we want to do is approximate the solo small firm experience and the level of personal attention that someone would expect when they call your business, and that they would expect if they just walk through your door, right? So that's the level of service that we're delivering, and we're very much happy to steer that for you based on the best practices that we know.
That's wonderful that you guys can use your, success from other clients and help teach and train even new clients for ways to succeed. That's fantastic. So, Maddy, I'd be curious to hear a little bit about, your take on, I've heard lawyers in various group chats on social media and whatnot say that, they've been getting bad online reviews, Google reviews or whatever, because they've missed connections with potential clients. So can you tell us a little bit about how important right now it is to be responsive with potential client calls?
It's so important to be responsive on many levels. We just released the infographic that we produce every year on the Clio Legal Trends Report. And what we know year after year, there was nothing new this year that shocked us, because we know 2 out of 3 potential clients base their decision to hire on the firm's initial responsiveness to the phone call, email, chat, that inbound communication. And we also know that responsiveness is not just a measure of time, it's a measure of channel, right? It's a measure of content. So what the Clio report says, and what we see every day, is that responsiveness means that you are responding on the channel that your clients prefer, and that you are providing information to help them make a decision to move forward with you or not. So are you responding with the right information that's needed for them to decide and for you to decide to move forward? Are you being responsive on phone only and neglecting these other channels that maybe you just put social media posts out, but you don't check your Facebook messages, or you don't respond at the same speed and with the same information that they would get if they would have a phone call? We saw something in the Clio report that basically said people are emailing firms and the firms are emailing back saying, could you please call us? Look at the situation. Someone is emailing you. Take the assumption that they prefer email, or that's a communication channel where you can expect them to be responsive back to you, and allow that same channel for the communication to occur, unless you really need to switch it to a different one, right? So what I would recommend is that you take the whole experience into consideration. And that's really what it gets down to. Imagine if you go to a restaurant. We see so many negative reviews on Yelp, on Google, for a restaurant that had fantastic food but terrible service, or this amazing dish was delivered cold. That's the perfect approximation for a bad phone experience. It may be the best legal services that they could ever have, but if it's served up cold, and if they can't get through to you and they hit the dead end of voicemail, then they're not ever going to experience how great you are as an attorney. They're going to go with the firm that recommends first. So it has to be a barrier that you remove to gain access, and they will experience you and the specialness that you bring to your practice. But after they get past the friendly gatekeeper, so to speak, because there are people who you do want to be put in touch with, and there are other people who you want to steer to your, partners and your network for recommended firms that can best serve them outside of your practice area. So we do all of those things, which provides, at the end of the day, a better experience not only for the clients, but also for you and your staff.
Yeah. We just had a question on the chat that actually leads into the next question I was going to ask you anyways, about if the client emails you and wants an appointment, but you respond and ask them to call you to schedule, can that be a problem? And I know, Maddy, you have experiences and good stories with clients about how sometimes due to work circumstances or home life circumstances, they can't talk on the phone. So can you go into that a little bit, and how important it is to respond the way the client wants you to?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really easy solutions, right? Like, you can sign up for online calendaring with any calendaring program you're already using. Let's say use Outlook or Office 365 or, Gmail, right? All of those has a calendar attached, and all of those integrate for free with Calendly or Acuity. And we can share those after this or put them in the chat. They are completely free for one calendar type. And you can take that and you can put it in your email signature and say, schedule a call. And you can have a new client consultation set up through there. And one thing I'll say is there are beautiful email signatures that you can have that attract the attention down to it, like Y-Stamp. Y-Stamp is also free, right? So if you have that as a passive sort of prompt for people who email you, maybe you reduce that exchange in the first place. We also can take those links as a receptionist service. So if people call or if they email, you can forward that email to us, or if they call or if they chat in, we use the same link and can schedule based on your criteria, having screened the lead or captured the information you need to have a well-informed conversation. Then we schedule the appointment. And we can even take payments using a LawPay link for an invoice at a set amount so that we can capture that payment for you. And you have the peace of mind that you're going to be compensated and using your time wisely based on practice area. Obviously, sometimes that makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But you don't have to be the one switching channels. You can also, I'll say, if you do have a little bit of email back and forth, another hack for reducing your time and writing those emails out every time is using something like Gorgias, which is Gorgias, or Text Expander, which allow you to use hotkeys to send template emails, and that will significantly save your time. You could even have a Text Expander or an email rule that when someone completes a web form, it automatically forwards to Smith AI, and we answer 7 days a week. And we can make those callbacks with your business number, right? So we're representing you professionally. Or you can have the Text Expander set up as an email template where you literally say, Smith AI, please handle it this way. And, maybe you have a hotkey that prompts that message because you want to have a little bit more screening and control before you automatically forward them to us. So there are a lot of ways to go about doing it.
That's great. Last but certainly not least, before we move on, Maddy, I know lawyers always like to get an idea kind of, pricing wise, if they're going to work with a service, what should they expect? And I know you guys have some great offers right now and can work with clients individually as well. So tell us about pricing.
Right. So if you do nothing else, please just take advantage of a lot of the free stuff that we're offering right now. And actually all the time, every day, we offer a free chatbot. So that offer is not going anywhere. It's 24/7. People come to your website first. Mark has seen incredible results with net new leads for chat. And what we know is that will at least prompt and screen the conversation and show that you're alive and functioning in an active business. That's the most important thing. But then we have plans that start at $140 a month, so it's very affordable. I will tell you, it's not a secret, but it's not put on our website. We can do custom plans at very high volume and also at very low volume. So if you say, I really only get 10 precious calls a month, we can make a plan for you. So ask us about what you need and we will accommodate it. That's really what we do. What we have going right now, though, is not only a 20 call, 20 chat free trial, which is live staffed on chat in addition to calls, but also 20 free calls with your first month of service. So that's 40 total calls. It includes one CRM integration. So we will take those conversations and the contacts and put them into Clio directly, Clio Manage, Clio Grow, or whatever system that you're using, so that you don't have yet another chore, because we know the chores have stacked up quite a bit these days.
That they sure have. So thank you so much for sharing ways that, I think it's important for folks to remember that there's still a lot of ways you can get help, even though you're maybe working from home. If you need help with phones, or responding, that's a huge time saver. So
yeah,
thank you
even
so
on
much.
Overflow, right? So I think if anyone is saying, I really need to be the front lines, but sometimes I know my kid comes in the room or we need to do bath time, that's an area. And also I will say Mark has a great example, Kristin, of updating your hours on Google right now and making sure those are up to date with your Smith AI hours, because people are going to contact the firm that looks alert and most responsive. And at the outset, if your hours say that you're open, that's a really good signal to cut through the noise, to rank a little bit higher than you may actually be on search, and to get that call above one of your competitors who may outrank you, but is closed.
Yeah, I've actually, there's a client actually on this webinar right now who gave me an anecdote where somebody called them and said, I'm calling you because you're the only person who's open right now. You know, like they had the list and there was like ABC and, you know, like even if we was maybe B or C, like, you know, like his hours said open and everybody else said closed at 5 p.m. So.
That makes a big difference. That makes a big difference. Awesome. Fantastic. So, and we've got some great links going on in the chat as well. So make sure you check those out. So moving along in the progression of our case, we've talked about the importance of marketing and working on your business right now to lead to client calls and how virtual receptionist companies can help with managing those calls. The next step in most cases, at least hopefully, is you want to get retained. And part of that retainer is getting paid. And this is where Aimee Mann can come in. So Aimee, would you please introduce yourself and tell us about LawPay?
Sure. So I'm Aimee Mann. I'm the Director of Communications at LawPay, and we are an online payment solution developed specifically for the legal industry. Our payment technology has been around for about 15 years, and initially our service area was working with nonprofits and associations, and we found a real niche working with bar associations and helping them collect member payments, dues, events, registrations, things like that. And as we developed closer relationships with some of these bar executives, we kept hearing over and over again, wow, this is such a great service. This is so convenient. Paying with a credit card online is so easy. We wish our clients could use something like this. But like you mentioned, especially in the case of retainer payments, there was a lot of fear and hesitancy about being able to accept credit card payments and remain IOLTA compliant. And so that's really where LawPay was born, was to create a solution, a proprietary technology that would let lawyers benefit from the convenience of online payments without jeopardizing their IOLTA compliance.
That's fantastic. That's really cool that it was kind of born out of a request from the bar association. So,
yeah.
So Aimee, I'm sure you have, could you share some data about, you think 20 years ago, and yeah, a lawyer's going to sit down with a client and get a check, but clients today, I'm guessing, don't want to pay by check. What can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of data, even in the last 5 years, that has come out showing that credit cards are the preferred payment solution in this day and age. And that's for a lot of reasons, right? We've got these big tech disruptors like Amazon, who's out there pioneering a one-click checkout process that, we've all probably become really accustomed to. I have a colleague who always says, she says, I'm a millennial. If I can't pay on my phone, I don't want to pay for it. Like, I want to click to pay my bills. I want to pay with a credit card. People, by and large, even with some of the security stuff that's gone on over the last few years, more than 50% of people feel that online payments are safest with a credit card or a debit card, and that's the safest way to pay for something. It's also an expectation level, right? So over 70% of people saying that businesses and service providers who offer them multiple ways to pay a bill, that increases their overall satisfaction with that business. So giving your clients a lot of ways to pay and kind of putting that power into their hands is going to result in an overall more satisfied customer, somebody who's more likely to recommend you, and somebody who's likely to pay you on time and promptly because they're having a great experience and they're feeling empowered to do things on their terms.
Absolutely. So important to work with the client and give them what they want. So, right now we're recording this obviously in April of 2020, and I anticipate that a lot of clients, or at least more clients, are going to want some payment plans or more flexible payment options. Do you guys offer any sort of an automated payment plan through your system that way lawyers can set it up and forget it so they don't forget to get paid?
Exactly. Yeah. And this is a really great point. Kind of our basic model for payments is we have a payment link that you can send out and kind of do one-off ad hoc payments. And we can talk about that in a minute. But we also do have, a feature called scheduled payments. And what we do is that lets you set up a one-time future payment or a recurring payment that, exactly like you said, it's a set it and forget it. And those parameters are super flexible, both for you and for your client. So you could set it up based on a time frame and say, I want to charge a client X amount every 2 weeks, or X amount on the last day of the month until this date, or until X number of transactions have run. Or you could set it up based on a dollar amount and say, we want to charge, $100 at this interval until they've paid $1,000, and just have that running, like you said, in the background, in perpetuity. Anytime one of those transactions runs, you are going to be notified immediately that it went through, and your client is going to be notified immediately that it went through, so that you can make sure that everybody's kind of up to speed on that. And especially now, we've seen a lot of people offering these payment plans right now, coming from a place of meeting their clients' need. And so talking about customer experience, this is just a really great way to extend that service to your clients, to meet them where they are, and to give them flexibility in a time where maybe they're struggling a little bit to make a big upfront retainer, deposit with your firm. There's also benefits for you, in addition to the ease of use and the set it and forget it nature of it. It also helps you build a more consistent and predictable cash flow. So if you know you're going to be getting this injection of funds every month, every 2 weeks, it helps you plan a little bit for the future, especially at a time like right now where you might not feel so confident about what the next 2 weeks or what the next month holds. And so you can set these up within LawPay. Clio has built our payment plans into their system. So if you're using Clio, you can utilize those seamlessly within Clio. So it's really easy to get going and as flexible as you need them to be.
That's fantastic. So I'm sitting here as a lawyer thinking, okay, this all sounds amazing, but like, how complicated is this to get set up with your bank and online? And do I have to build it into my website, and is your team available to help?
Yeah, great questions. So we'll start with the last bit first. Yes, our team at LawPay is fully operational. We had been prepping for this for a while and testing all of our services. So everything that we've ever been able to do, we're doing it remotely right now. So we've got our account managers helping create new plans and create new accounts for people. We've got our training team doing daily trainings on the system and getting people up and running. Support team is fully operational. If you need us, we're going to be there for you. And getting started with LawPay is super easy. Once you fill out an application, which you can either do online, it just takes about 10 minutes. You can do it any time of day, anywhere from any internet device. Or if you want to have somebody walk you through the process, you can call in. Again, it's a really quick and easy thing. Once you've got that application submitted, you're usually going to be up and running and like able to take payments in 24 to 48 hours.
Wow,
and
that's fast. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a super user-friendly system. That's something we're so proud of at LawPay. Is it's so easy to use. We always joke, if you can send an email, you can use LawPay, because like I mentioned before, what we'll provide you with is a secure payment link to a payment page. It will live on our servers, so you don't have to worry about the cybersecurity aspect of it, but you can do whatever you want with that payment link. So if you want to, add it to your email signature so that when you send an email out to a client, there's something that says, pay my attorney. They can click, they can enter their own payment information. You don't even get involved. You can, like you mentioned, if you want to get fancy, you can absolutely put a button on your website that people can click to pay. You can take that link and give it to one of the receptionists at Smith AI. They'll be protected from seeing the back end of your system, but they'll be able to facilitate that payment when they're talking to a client on the phone, maybe during the intake process. So whatever you want to do with that link, however you want to use it, we have people talk to us and say they text it to their clients to be like, hey,
wow.
you can click to pay here. Again, let those millennials pay on their phone. It's right there in their hand already. So it's as flexible as you are, super easy to use. And that's something that we've done really intentionally. We're not here to disrupt the way you run your business. So however you're running your business, you can use LawPay within your existing procedures and processes.
That's fantastic. Give the people what they want, Aimee. That is just great. So, last couple of questions for you, Aimee. Again, lawyers always want to know, kind of what sort of pricing they're going to look at when they work with a new service provider. And also, I wanted you to highlight, you guys remember member benefits with all 50 state bars, right?
Yeah, so we're really thankful about those partnerships. So we work with all 50 state bars and about 60 local kind of county and specialty bars. So some of the practice area specific ones like ALA and NACPA and NACDL. So yeah, we're really proud of those partnerships and looking to do everything we can just to collaborate with the bars to support their members, especially now. And then pricing. So with LawPay, you've got a $20 per month monthly fee. And then there's credit card processing fees on top of that, which are pretty standard. We do a 1.95% for Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, and debit cards, your basic kind of level cards. And then for specialty cards like an Amex or a P card or a rewards card, that's a 2.95% charge on that. And right now we're running a special. If you want to call in and talk to an account manager, we have a $100 credit on your processing fees that we're doing right now, so that if you've never taken credit cards before and you want to know kind of how that's going to work out, we can help alleviate some of that financial burden while you get up and running and help your cash flow be a little more consistent right now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for doing all of that, Aimee, and for sharing your expertise today. I really appreciate you being here. So moving along in our case, we've done our marketing, we answered the call, we got that retainer payment. So now it is time to get to work. And this is where our last two speakers can help you boost your productivity, your efficiency, no matter where you're working. And so first, I want to go to my good friend, Nefra Macdonald, who is with Clio. Nefra, please introduce yourself. And for those who may not know what Clio is, tell us all about it.
Awesome. My name is Nefra Macdonald, and I'm the Affinity Programs Manager at Clio, and I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So a bit about Clio. We are a legal technology solution company. So we have two products. Our first was launched in 2008, and it's a cloud-based legal practice management software, which helps you manage your matters, your clients, your tasks, your calendar events, documents, secure client portal, integration with LawPay, integration with Lawclerk, with Smith AI. So the tools that you use every day will integrate with Clio Manage. And about 2 years ago, we expanded our offering to include a client intake and CRM software called Clio Grow. And that helps you to take your intakes paperless, which is really perfect for the environment that we're in. It allows you to have contactless and very seamless intakes to make sure that you don't skip any steps within that first part of that life cycle and make that part as efficient as possible, because that's typically unpaid work. So that is what Clio has to offer. And as far as my job goes, I manage our relationship with 66 plus bar associations across the country, including state bars and local bars. And I also head up our live events program. So one of the things I'm really missing right now is being able to have conversations with lawyers at conferences and just hearing about their law firms, how they work, their current workflows, what they're using, and helping them figure out, what the best course of action is. Clio is a great fit for managing your cases and your intakes, but we also have some amazing partners that are also at these conferences. So I love being able to see all of you and be able to share with others the great work that your companies are doing as well.
Yeah, I know we're all missing the chance to get out there and talk with the attorneys in person, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm still talking to a lot of our attorneys. And one thing that surprises me is how often people are still saying, well, I had to go into the office today to get these documents, or, well, I'm still going to the office because that's where our server is and it's easier to work there. So for people who are still tethered to the office because of certain restrictions, Nefra, how can Clio help them cut the cord?
Yeah, so we're here to help lawyers work remotely. And there's so much technology out there to help you achieve this. But I think the first hurdle is the mentality that you're tied to the office and that there are things there that you can't necessarily have from anywhere. And it's about thinking about your current workflows and the specific things that are keeping you tethered to the office. So if it's paper files, there's a way to take those paperless. So we integrate with ScanSnap. And so that's Fujitsu ScanSnap. They're these really tiny little scanners that can fit on any desk. You can take it anywhere. And that can help you get started with digitizing some of those documents. So if you're a solo it might be a really daunting thing to do, but if things are a little bit slower for you, it's the perfect time to get your documents in the cloud, and Clio offers unlimited document storage. Now, if you're fortunate and you have staff, send everybody home with their own case file and their own banker's box, and give everybody instructions on how you want to take these things paperless. So, and a naming structure for documents is super important. Having those naming conventions so that as people are scanning things in, everyone is labeling things the same way. So that way everyone is able to locate these documents that they would have been able to find in a physical file. And the beauty of having it digitized and in Clio is that we also have full text search options. So if you're looking for a specific phrase or word in a document, you're able to then pick that up in a Google style search now in your practice management software, as opposed to rifling through a file and taking up extra time to do that. So if that's one of the things that's stopping you from, being completely remote and still having to go into the office, that's one thing. If it's meeting with clients, exploring other ways to communicate and training your clients to do that. So allowing them to send you text messages, but also keeping your own personal number and your staff's number safe by using a service that allows you to text back and forth. Adding chatbots on your website, like Maddy's company does. Using the secure client portal and letting them know, listen, this is our preferred way of communication. It's going to be secure, and this is also a place where you'll be able to find the latest documents on your case. And I'll be uploading those documents on your case every 2 weeks as I have them. So this is a great place for you to go to get the latest updates on your case. And it's eliminating another phone call or another email exchange if you direct them to the places where they can go to get the most commonly asked questions answered. So a couple of ideas there, but there's so many things that keep people going to the office, like servers, and going cloud-based can help you cut that cord as well. You won't have to worry about server updates, or the person that is maintaining that server won't have to worry about a VPN anymore and having to log into your firm's network. Clio uses bank-grade security for our application. We also have two-factor authentication, so that part of it is also part of what gives people peace of mind in using a cloud-based technology to store client data.
Again, giving the people what they want, whether it's the lawyer, the clients with the portal, this is great. So Nefra, you guys at Clio do an amazing job at helping educate lawyers, lending them a hand when they need some different education on different features of Clio or getting started. Tell us about, ways that your team is still available to help clients if they need to get set up, if they need to migrate documents into their new Clio account, and about all the different education things you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, law firms are more nimble when they're operating in the cloud. So when a crisis strikes, you're able to move very quickly to a remote environment with our help and with the help of cloud-based technology. With Clio, included in your monthly subscription is 24/5 support. So our support team is fully remote, and we have been for about 6 weeks, and we'll continue to be there for the foreseeable future. But we're as productive, if not more productive, than we were while everyone was still going into the office. So that 24/5 support is there for you at all times. Our support site is so robust. It has every possible way you could think of learning, everything from modules for, depending on your role in the law firm, so modules for a managing attorney and modules for a paralegal, just to learn the parts of the product that are going to be the most valuable to them. We have a quick start program that we launched in response to the COVID crisis and with this mass migration that we're seeing of firms moving to the cloud, so that you can get up and running with Clio in 5 sessions. And it's going to take you through the basic functions and all of the things that you'll need to be a high functioning remote law firm. And that quick start session is available 5 times a day, every single day. We're expanding that next week to also include Clio Grow. So those are some of the things that are available there. And then as far as our outreach in response to this crisis, we started the COVID-19 Legal Relief Initiative and distributed $1 million worth of aid to lawyers, to bar association, legal aid organizations, mental health organizations that help support lawyers And that distribution is ongoing. We got an influx of applications that were very emotional, and I know people are struggling out there, and we're doing the best that we can to help. And in addition to that, we're trying to be as responsive as we can to what we're hearing. So in the past few weeks, we've launched a series for accounting office hours. So if people are needing some help with getting their books in order, oh boy, Siri's active. if people are struggling with getting their books in order or getting their paperwork together for, say, a PPP application, EIDL, and wanting some guidance with that. So we've got those accounting office hours. We have a session with some experts that have helped their clients apply to some of these government aid programs. That's available. And those are going to be expanded over the next few weeks as we start to hear more. We're going to be launching a resume workshop for people that need to brush up on their resume and get work. Kristin's going to be joining us for some sessions on how to get up and running with your freelance profile, or if you're juggling the kids at home and you're taking care of other people, you don't have as much time to dedicate to your work, how to freelance that work out. So we're leaning on experts wherever we can to try to get the most relevant information that we can to lawyers right now.
Well, I think that's all just amazing. And, Clio's been ahead of the curve and pushing lawyers towards using technology and working smarter. So thank you for all you guys are doing in your community to help educate lawyers and be a resource during this challenging time. So I really appreciate that, Nefra.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. So moving along in the case, you're set up, you're organized with your practice management, but maybe you're struggling to get documents out the door. And that's where my company comes into place. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Lawclerk. You can find us at Lawclerk.Legal. And in a nutshell, what we do is we help match up busy attorneys from all over the country with our network of freelance lawyers that we call law clerks that you can hire on a project-by-project basis when you need help. Our folks are there to help you with any of the written work, okay? So they're not going to make court appearances or take depositions. They're not going to talk to clients. But what they can do is they can help you dig into complicated research issues. They can help you draft any sort of written document, whether it's a demand letter, a complaint, motions, appellate briefs, settlement agreements, contracts, leases. You get the drift, any sort of written document. They can also help with marketing content. So where Mark was talking earlier about maybe you want to take this time to produce some helpful resources in the form of a FAQ sheet or a newsletter. Well, maybe you don't have time or you just don't want to write that kind of thing. Again, you can tap into one of our experienced freelancers who practices in your same area of law and say, hey, I want to put out a series of 4 newsletters over the next couple of months. And these are the topics I want to talk about. Can you write me like a 500-word blog style article that I can put into my newsletters? So you can even tap into us for those marketing needs as well. One of the most common questions that we get, and I'm going to trust that my co-panelists here, if I missed an important point, you're going to ask me a question at the end of my time here. But one of the questions we get often is, well, who are these freelancers? Because I think sometimes freelancing gets a bad stigma of these are people that can't get jobs or something like that. And let me tell you that the reality of that could not be farther from the truth. We have freelancers from all different walks of life. Yes, we have stay-at-home parents. We have people that are not working in a traditional law firm role because they're taking care of aging parents. We have a lot of military spouses who move around every few years, and it's really hard to get a new attorney job when you're only going to be there for a short time period, and maybe you haven't gotten barred there, et cetera, et cetera. We also have a lot of solo attorneys that have both a hiring attorney account and a freelancer account. And when the practice of law, inevitably ebbs and flows, when they're slow, they'll come on and pick up some freelance work to help supplement their income. Beyond that, we have a lot of former big law attorneys that, didn't make partner or wanted to get out of the rat race, but they've got incredible expertise in complicated legal areas that you can tap into and partner with to help boost your own clients' cases. So we've got a wide variety of freelancers. Most of our freelancers have at least 5 to 15 years of experience, so they're not newbies coming straight out of school. Another big question is, well, how does the pricing work? Because of course we always want to know that. All of the work on Lawclerk is done on a project-by-project basis. And so the way you want to think about that is, yeah, maybe you have a new family law case. And so you're going to piece that case out into different projects with our freelancers. And maybe the first one you're going to say is, okay, draft the complaint, draft the property agreement, draft the decree. Each of those projects is going to be paid on a flat fee basis. So that gives you total control over what you're going to spend and how you're going to work that case. This is especially important if you happen to be working your cases on a flat fee basis already with your clients. You can then look at that fee and figure out how you're going to allocate it to different parts of work to get the case done. So even though you're going to pay for the project on a flat fee basis, you at the end of the project are going to get an hours report from the freelancer. So they're still required to keep track of their time and how long they spent working on the project. So you're going to get a report, and if you happen to use Clio, we integrate with them, and that time report is going to flow right into your Clio pre-bill so that you can review it and edit the time before the bill goes to the client. But that data is going to give you a couple of things. Number one, if you're working on a flat fee basis, it's going to help you evaluate if you're paying appropriately for that piece of work with the freelancer. But if you happen to be billing hourly, the ethics rules say that you are allowed to bill a freelancer's time to your client at a reasonable market rate. And that's the test, is a reasonable market rate. So that means that it's not only a way for you to get more work done, but it's a way for you to generate additional revenue into your firm, which is really exciting. Another really common question is, well, do I have to pick someone in my own state, or what are the rules about that? The really cool thing about Lawclerk is that we have freelancers in all 50 states. So if you happen to have the type of legal issue or work where you do need someone in that jurisdiction who's licensed and experienced there, awesome, we've got you covered. However, I want you to keep in mind that because of the nature of the work the freelancers do, they are limited in the scope of their work to doing only the work equivalent to a paraprofessional. This means that they're not going to interact with clients or the court or opposing counsel. They are going to work for you under your limited direct supervision, okay? And so because of that, they're not actually engaging in the practice of law. And this opens the doors so that if maybe you have, a complex constitutional law issue and you're in Arizona, but you find a freelancer who's licensed in Washington State, who's written a lot of articles about this and has practiced for 20 years in constitutional law, you can connect to draw on their expertise, even though they aren't in your state. So it does open up the border and open up a lot of new opportunities there. We've been hearing a lot of success stories from lawyers all over the country the past few weeks. We're hearing from users that they're taking advantage of this time working from home, not having that daily commute and some of those other time-consuming things that we normally are dealing with. And they're taking that, like Mark said, to work on their business. And one of the ways they're doing that is they're finally taking the plunge to do some delegating and outsourcing and free up their own precious time. And so we've got some great resources on our website. I'm going to provide those for our attendees today here in the chat. But we've got some great resources on our website to give you ideas by practice area, what types of projects other lawyers are doing across the country, how they're pricing them. We also have on our homepage a link to our Ultimate Guide to Outsourcing. This is a 42-page, really comprehensive document that if you want to do a deep dive or you're just looking for some great reading material to sit outside at a park this weekend, you can download that and take a read. So we're hearing that people are taking advantage of this time, but for a lot of our top users who were using us already, it's business as usual. They're still working through with their case because they're used to working remotely with the freelance lawyers that they deal with, and that's really fantastic. So last but not least, when you sign up for a free account at Lawclerk.Legal, oh, and that's an important thing to point out, it is free for both the hiring attorney and the freelance lawyer to sign up for Lawclerk, okay? No cost to sign up, no monthly fee. So just to have access to it and have these freelance lawyers available to you if and when you need them costs nothing. You don't pay anything until you select the winning applicant for your project. But more importantly, after you register for your account at Lawclerk, you're going to be matched up with a dedicated Lawclerk advisor. These advisors are just phenomenal. They're kind of like a concierge. And so they're going to come in, they're going to give you that white glove service. They're going to hold your hand as much as you need some hand holding to walk through your first project to help get the project posted, price it appropriately, pick the best applicant. They can help with all of those things. But more importantly, you can talk to them and they can share experiences they've had with other clients, other lawyers across the country in a similar practice area of how they're using Lawclerk and succeeding with it. So definitely draw on their expertise and help us get you more. Let us help you get more work done and do it more efficiently. So that's what we can do at Lawclerk.Legal, and I hope you'll give us a try. So Well, I really appreciate the group's time here today, and we've been doing a pretty good job of addressing questions along the way, but certainly I wanted to give every panelist a chance. If there was something you forgot to mention that you wanted to include, now is the time. And let's start with you, Mark.
Yeah, so one of the things I was talking about is where people should be spending time and how social media has been working really well for a lot of people. I actually forgot to reference some data. So I actually had the team go over, I think it's around 400,000 traffic sessions to all websites that we manage for all of our law firm clients. And we have kind of wanted to look like what happened traffic-wise and leads and everything before March 15th, which we're kind of calling pre-COVID in the US, right? And then, after all the shutdowns and, work from home, orders and stuff after like March 15th, we found that traffic from social media and, referral sites like, Facebook and things like that was up like 78%.
Wow.
That's huge. Traffic from like regular Google search was actually down about 17 to 20%. We found that if you were in DUI, criminal defense, family law right now, then your sessions are significantly lower since post-COVID, which I think, we understand makes sense, right? Like DUIs, right. People aren't going to bars or not driving. But interesting enough, well, I think it also makes sense, like labor and employment, workers' comp were up significantly. I mean, labor and employment was up like 50% in sessions and traffic and stuff. Personal injury, strangely enough, was about 4% increase. So actually was a little bit higher, but I think that some of that is because of a lot of clients in personal injury were spending money on advertising and stuff and spending money in social media advertising and maybe gained the benefit of more traffic. Also, costs went down a little bit in paid advertising. So maybe they got more for their money. And then estate planning was up about 6% over the past, like about a month and a half. So that was, I think, some interesting information showing that, look, social media, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's like 78% increase in traffic. This is a good place to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that data. Maddy, any final parting thoughts from you?
The only thing that I would say is that it's really important that you set expectations properly right now, and don't open the gate to people having your cell phone number because you haven't implemented the right systems, or you set expectations that you personally are going to be responsive, and that puts a lot of weight on your shoulders. It also sets expectations that will affect you in the future. This is something that we're dealing with in the short term, but make sure that you have systems in place that are flexible and affordable, that don't put you on the hook for the long term for payments that you may not know if you need them beyond this, situation that we're in right now. But also make sure that you are upholding the values and the sort of brand that you are known for, and setting expectations helps to make sure that people are aligned with how they're going to hear from you. And that you don't get those negative reviews because you haven't set up your phone to ring properly to your home office or to us or to route to other people on your team. So it's really important that you take care of your brand and your system so that they work for you, not against you right now. And also, if you do nothing else, just secret shop and audit all your systems, because what we see is people are moving fast and making a ton of changes. And if you implement like the VoIP phone system, Corvum, like Mark recommended in the chat, and if you're setting up text answering and autoresponders and scheduling, you don't want to have these systems work and not integrate properly, right? Not book appointments for you that overlap with other appointments because that's on your personal calendar with your family and kids, right? So call your phone, make sure that it rings to the right place and that you don't hear 8 rings. Make sure that you have your team set up and they are able to respond and you know exactly when they're going to be doing so. You may need to increase communication with them if they're also working remotely. There are team chat like Slack and Microsoft Teams and Skype that work really well for that. A lot of those are free or super affordable. Just make sure that you are monitoring actively and testing frequently these new systems that you've set up, because how someone tries to reach you is an opportunity to build trust and value immediately in your firm, or to very quickly erode trust and disregard a firm. So just be very careful with any of those sort of opportunities to engage at the top of the funnel on any channel that you've opened up right now and that you know how you're going to respond through them.
Great advice, 100%. Thank you, Maddy. Aimee, parting thoughts.
You know, I kind of wanted to circle back to something you said at the very beginning of this group, of this panel. You know, I think that we've all been here talking about ways that we can help kind of in this brave new world that we're chartering. But one of the really amazing things about everybody on this panel is that these are all really established and helpful tools for any point in time that are going to extend well beyond kind of when life returns to quote unquote normalcy. And so I think that there's a really great opportunity, you know, like Nefra mentioned, if you've been meaning to take the leap into the cloud, if you've been meaning to, you know, boost your marketing, if you've been meaning to get some better processes and maybe outsource some parts of the non-lawyering parts of your business, whether that's to a freelancer or to a virtual receptionist, meaning to take credit cards, this is a great time to take the plunge, to do something that can help you in the immediacy and then have ongoing long-term benefits for your business.
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you so much. Nefra.
Yeah, I think parting thoughts wise, I love everything that that Maddy and Mark and Aimee have contributed. And I think if I were to contribute anything else, it would be that people are going to remember how you handled them and treated them during this time. And I think in everything that you implement, whether it's new technology or a work from home policy that lasts beyond this, you know, think about how you're treating your staff, think about how you're treating your clients, and think about the things that will stick and may not fall away after all of this is over. We had Richard Susskind on our podcast, the Daily Matters podcast, earlier this week, and he's talked about a couple of cycles of this where we'll reemerge, but we may have to go back into working remotely. We don't know what's going to happen, but making sure that you're prepared for this, and as these cycles happen, making sure that you're iterating on all of your processes and how you're treating people and how you're showing up in the world. One of our attendees just commented about how he's offering helpful tips and just fun content on social media. Sometimes people need a little lightness, and sometimes people are just looking for a little education on what legal recourse might be available to them. So be of service, be of help, and always put your people first. That's my parting thought.
Love that. Well, thanks to all of you again for sharing your time and expertise. I just wanted to add, you know, it feels like we're in this weird on pause, on hold time period, but I want to encourage everyone, don't put growth on pause, okay? This is a great time to pivot, to, as everyone said, try new things, rethink about how you really want to structure your life and your practice and build those things now. So pivot, stay strong, and like we called the presentation, keep calm and lawyer on. So thank you.
Maddy, there was a question that's directed at you. If you can just answer it, maybe.
Oh, sure. Let me see. Does Smith AI integrate with Filevine? Yes. So Filevine just released an updated API, and we are adjusting to that. So yes, please email the support team, and that's actually a request that I already have in, and we're good friends with Filevine. So sure, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Were there any other?
I think we're all good on questions. And
good on questions? Okay.
Got a lot of links in the chat, so be sure you go through there and make sure you grab all your links. And hopefully people did that as we were talking. Kristin, thank you so much for hosting and walking us through this journey.
My pleasure. I'm so glad that hopefully we have new lawyers that are looking for these resources and seeking them out for a first time ever. So that's definitely a silver lining to the situation. Fantastic.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.